Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to auto log in with Windows 10 or Windows 11. Any version of Windows 10 and 11 will work the same way. So let's go ahead and get started. So if you Google search, right, how to auto log in with Windows 10, this applies to Windows 11 as well. So if you look at this, I'm going to look at this one here. Any one of those has the same instructions or similar instructions, but I'm going to look at this one here. Right, so the first step that they recommend you to do is to run net pwdVersiion. So if you press Ctrl R, or if you go to here and then hit run and then type net pwdVersiion, it's going to take you here. The only problem that I see here is this. So if, as you can see here, I don't have a checkbox over here to enable the password. So let's see, if we scroll down a little bit more, this is what I'm talking about. Use must enter username and password to use this computer. The instructors telling you to uncheck that, and then once you do that, it's going to ask you to put your user ID and your password, and then it will enable that. You can shut down and restart your computer. You're going to automatically log you in. But as you can see here, I don't have that option in there. We're going to fix this. This documentation also explains about this, but it's buried down at the last step. But you can also enable this via the regedit. I'm going to talk about that as well. Right, you just run the regedit, and I'm going to explain. I'm not going to go through the instruction in here, but I'm going to explain that with the greater detail for you. But the one thing that I want to show you that's buried at the last moment, right, is the admin auto logon value is missing. That means it's just gonna tell you to. This is what they say here, right? If you run this command over here, it's gonna enable that checkbox. So let's go ahead and do some testing over here. So I don't need this anymore. So let's start with the regedit. Now, one word of caution here, right? Don't mess with the registry keys too much, because you can damage your computer, right? You can make your computer unusable. So my recommendation is, before you make any changes, I'll recommend you to back up your registry. So for example, there's two paths in here that we're going to look at. It is the HK local machine, software, Microsoft, Windows NT, current version. Then one of them we're going to be looking is the PasswordLess and devices. So that's what I am right now. It says number 2 right now. So if I double click on this, it says number 2. We want to change that to 0. If we change that to 0, you enable that checkbox that you can set up the auto login that way. Okay, so to back up this, you just right click and you say export. I'm going to put it in the desktop. I'm going to say devices and then save this. So I create a backup of this now. This is number 2. Create a backup of that. Then the other reg keys that we're going to look at it is the winLogon. And that's the device, that password. The other one is the winLogon. Where's my winLogon? Those are PasswordLess, device, Windows. Alright, current version, PasswordLess, winLogon right here. I just passed it. So that's the winLogon that we're going to be looking at it. In the winLogon, there's a couple keys that we're going to be looking at it here. One is this admin auto logon. It's set to 0. We need to change that to 1. The other one is default username. Right there. There's none. We're going to add that in there. And we need to add also a key that's not there, which is a string key called default user password. We needed to enter that password in there as well. This is the last logon, and there is a default domain. I don't think it is a default domain name in here. Also, This is not required, but we're gonna be working on this as well. So there's a couple ways you can do this, right? Like I said, you need to change this default logon from 0 to 1, and we need to put the username over here, and we need to create a default user password key, and then put that in there as well. But instead of doing this manually, we're gonna run a script to do this. I create a PowerShell script, and I'm gonna leave the PowerShell script on the description below, that you can use that. So let's just go ahead and open PowerShell. I'm gonna run this as administrator because you needed to have administrator rights to do this. And I'm gonna do a step by step. Right, so I create a script called samples. So let's open that one. So there's two set of scripts over here. This first one over here is the one that we're gonna change that from 2 to 0. So first I'm checking. So I'm creating, this is the path of the password devices. Now I'm checking. I'm getting the password version, and then I'm saying if the password version is equals to 2, then I'll write a message, and then I'm gonna change that to 0. If it's not equals to 2, it's gonna say it's enabled. Actually, I should do, instead of doing this, I'm gonna change this script a little bit, because if it is changed to 1, then this is gonna treat as not 2. Is gonna force to change it to 2 anyway. So I'm just gonna change either 2 or 0. So instead of doing this here, I'm just gonna create a new if statement in there. But instead of 2 here, I'm gonna say this is equals to 0. Equals to 0. Okay, so let's run this first script here. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to click this run selection, or press F8. I do this, and it says password checkbox is disabled, enabling now. Now if we go back to the registry, let's go back to this device. Now as you can see, now it's changed to 0. Now if I go back in here, I need to close this and run the click on run again, net plwiz. Now I can see, you'll see that. So this is one way you can enable. Now I can see that information in there. I can uncheck, and as soon as I hit OK, it's gonna ask me for the password for the test user, and then I'll put the password in there, and that will do it. But I'm not gonna use this method here right now. Actually, I recommend you to use this method, because the other method is going to have your password in the registry as a clear text. So let's go back in here. I'm going to run this script again. It's going to revert back to 0. See, disabling now. So it's now if I go back to here, and if I refresh this, press F5 to refresh this. Actually, it did not do anything. That should change it. Oh, you know what? There's a problem with my script. No, it's not a problem with the script. It's correct. So I think I need to close the registry, and then reopen in order to see that information. No, it still says 0. But I did change that. Oh, you know what? I did not change that, because it's commented out. I never uncomment this out. So let me uncomment this. Now I can run the script. It will change it now. So if I look at this, go back in here, hit at 5. Now you see it change back to 2. So that one is disabled. Now let's look at the other part, the other script in here. So this one is to enable that via this. So there's a couple keys. So that's the default username. That's default password. This is the username. This is the password for the username. This is change that admin log on from 0 to 1. I'm setting the workstation, the default workstation name to workstation, and this is how I'm running this. So if I do this, and then if I run this, and I'll get everything done. And this one, it's not working because the property already exists. I needed to say force over here. Yes, the properties already exist, so I didn't want to, because I was trying to add. So I'm just going to put a force in here. And the password did not do anything because it did not exist, so I did not get an error message for that one. But I'm going to add a force over here just to overwrite the settings. And I'm going to say run. Now everything works successfully. If you go back to winLogon, and you're going to see that we have the default username right there. Now it's set to TS user. Admin auto logon now is set to 1. And what is my default password? Right there. Default password, it says password 1. And the default workstation is default domain name, actually is workstation. Now if I close this, right, I'm gonna close this here, just save the changes in there, correct, and I'm going to reboot, power, restart, and you're gonna see that I'm gonna automatically log me in. But this is this settings that I won't. Yet it's fine, it works just fine, but it's better to use the other one. The password is going to be encrypted, so not going to be a clear text on clear password on the registry. This is a local machine. It's automatic log me in already. All right, so I think this is it. Let me go back to the PowerShell script. I want to run as administrator. I'm going to open this same script that I had. Nope, I don't want this. I want to open the recent script, sample one. Right. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to set the password as blank. I'm going to set the user as blank, domain as blank. I'm going to change this to 0. And I'm going to run the whole script because I want to enable this back, and I'm going to use that option in there. In the future, just save it. Okay. All right. So this is a good thing too. So because of policy, execution policy, it's not letting me run the script, which is a good thing. But we're gonna fix this as well. So if you go to Google, just run PowerShell execution policy, and then we're gonna run, just gonna look at this one here. We're gonna set the policy to unrestricted right here. So let me copy this here, and let's go back in here. I'm gonna put this at the end over here. So first thing, I'm gonna get the policy list so you can see the policy. So right now it says undefined, 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 undefined. So we're gonna go ahead and set some policy over here. So I'm gonna run as this one. Yes to all. Now let's see if this is gonna do. Let's get the list again. So it says local machine remote sign. So let's see if we can run this script again. So I'm gonna just comment these 2 lines over here. I think I need to set to unrestricted, but let's just run this whole thing. It works, so the remote sign works fine. So now if I go back to the registry, and as you can see, the auto login is set to 0. Default username, default password is blank, and the workstation is also blank. The domain is also blank. So that's what we wanted to do. But if we go back to the device is, what is the registry key for that one? Is the first one is CurrentVersion PasswordLess device. So we're gonna find the PasswordLess in here. And device is set to 0. So that's what we wanted to do. Now I can close this. I don't need this script anymore. I don't need Google anymore. Let's go ahead and do a run. netpwis. I'm gonna say uncheck this and OK. I'm gonna type the password in here. Retype the password. And I'm gonna say OK. Password does not match the type of password. What did I do? So now I set the password that way. Now if I go back and reboot the machine, it's gonna go ahead and log me in automatically. Power, restart, and it's gonna automatically log me in, and the password is not set as a clear text in the registry. So that's my recommendation to use this. If you have any question, please comment below, and then I'll answer as soon as I can. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this exhilarating journey. Stay tuned for more awe-inspiring content that will empower you to reach new heights. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.